Hey there, Manila. So today I'll be talking about Minister Louis Farrakhan and the words he used to address Trump and the divided nation that we live in. So first, let's take a look at my report of Farrakhan's press conference. I'm here at the Watergate Hotel located in Washington, D.C., where hundreds of Muslims gathered to listen to Minister Louis Farrakhan address President Donald Trump for the very first time. In Farrakhan's address to President Trump yesterday, he said, quote, "America is a good nation, but America needs to reflect on her sins." He went on to address one issue in particular that is distracting the U.S. from focusing on what is important.
They're crying about Russia's hacking into your little election when the American government has interceded in 81 countries to fix their elections and put into power those that would be in favor of American interests.
Within the past year, many have taken to the streets to protest against Trump's campaign rhetoric, his election win, his inauguration, and the numerous presidential actions he's pursued so far. Nuclear war! Most notably, after Trump's inauguration, millions protested on January 21st, 2017, during the Women's March in Washington, D.C., marking it the largest single-day protest in the nation's history. Since Trump's campaign began, the U.S. has seen an uptick in hate crimes by more than 20% in some cities in the U.S., mostly affecting blacks, Jews, and Muslims. According to new data released by the FBI, in 2016, the U.S. saw more than 4,000 single-bias hate crime offenses that were motivated by race. Of those, 50.2% were motivated by anti-black or African-American bias. That's compared to 20.7% that stemmed from anti-white bias. In the case of religious bias, the FBI found there were more than 1,500 offenses reported by law enforcement. Of those offenses, 54.2% were anti-Jewish, while 24.8% were anti-Islamic. The offenses against Muslims rose significantly. According to the FBI's report, there were 127 reported victims of aggravated or simple assault in 2016. This is compared to 91 reports in 2015 and 93 reports in 2001. Many attending Farrakhan's press conference believe these statistics show Trump's campaign slogan, "Make America Great Again," isn't bringing the outcome it promises. Instead, under Trump's presidency, it appears he's further dividing this country, prompting Farrakhan to end his address on this note to Trump.
Mr. President, you won't make America great again. Not in our time. She became great killing Native Americans. She became great enslaving us, bringing us from Africa into America to work the cotton fields. You're not going to get that opportunity back anymore.
Joining me now to further this conversation is activist and hip-hop artist Yarima Karama and legal director for Council on American Islamic Relations, Albert Fox Khan. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. Albert, let's start with you. Statistics show hate crimes have risen by more than 20% when it comes to Muslims. Just last year, 127 Muslims were assaulted because of their belief. Now, Albert, can you cite a couple of examples?
Yes, there are actually far too many heartbreaking examples to be able to capture the entire range of experiences we've seen. But incidents that come to mind are the young Muslim mothers who were attacked here in Brooklyn in broad daylight, walking down the street, pushing their strollers by a woman saying, "You don't belong here." A woman who attacked them simply because they were Muslim, attacked their children. It includes cases like Iman Kanji and Tara Uden, who were attacked in broad daylight, killed, murdered just blocks from their Queen's Mosque, walking home from prayers. These are the sorts of cases we've seen targeting Muslims of every age, of every ethnicity, across this city and across this country.
What you just named right there, Albert, two tragic examples, but obviously there are many more where that come from. Now, Yarima, FBI statistics, they show half of the racial bias hate crimes targeted blacks. Now, why do you think this is?
Well, I think that there has been an undertone of racism in this country, and it has been insipid in our environment. It didn't just start in this administration. It has been here, and it's an issue that hasn't been dealt with. We haven't talked about it. People, particularly racist whites, they try to skirt the subject at any opportunity that they get. And this has always been the elephant in the room. And until this elephant is addressed, these situations are going to continue, and those percentages are going to continue to either stay steady or rise even higher.
And Albert, would you agree with Yurima's reason that could be fueling hate crimes against Muslims as well?
Unfortunately, there are a lot of different components fueling this surge in hate crimes, but at this time, there seems to be a direct correlation between the president's rhetoric and the legitimization of Islamophobia by those at the highest levels of our government and the surge in criminal activity targeting the Muslim community.
Yurima, Louis Farrakhan, he addressed Trump. Now, with what Albert said, do you think that when it comes to Trump, or rather Louis Farrakhan saying that Trump will not make America great again, do you agree with Albert that Trump's rhetoric could be fueling the racism and the hatred towards blacks and Muslims in this country? And do you think Louis Farrakhan's address to him will make a difference at all?
First of all, to the last part, no, I don't think and Minister Farrakhan did a very eloquent presentation, but I don't think that will change or make a difference. As far as the rhetoric that Trump is espousing, I believe that does play a part, but I believe that it plays a minor part. Basically, what Trump did is said some things on the campaign trail that kind of fueled what was already in people's hearts and minds anyway. We have to remember that we have been at war, literally, this country with Muslim nations, and a lot of this rhetoric, particularly towards Muslims, started back in 2001 with the advent of the towers being lost in New York, and the crimes against black people or African Americans in this country. That has been going on for centuries now. The difference now is that you're able to see it on camera phones. You're able to actually view it. It's being televised. But before, it was something that was kind of brushed up under the rug. America didn't want to see it, even though we as black Americans in the black community had to deal with it. So talking about making America great again, how could you make America great again when you're on stolen land? They've never apologized for racism. And then the other part of this, Ashley, is the fact that we Americans have to understand that there is a shadow government. So if we are to sit here and believe that Trump is the all-powerful president of this country, we're already lost.
Yurima, you stated some comments, some points that Louis Farrakhan mentioned in his press conference, and he ended on to Trump, addressing Trump directly, that he cannot make America great again. Albert, we're going to talk more about the Muslim community. How are they coping with the rise in these hate crimes?
Well, I mean, here in New York, we represent Muslims who have been targeted in every facet of their life. But at the end of the day, we're all New Yorkers. We're resilient. We have endured tragedy time and again. And the people who are being targeted for their faith because they are Muslim are going about their lives, going to school, going to work, unapologetically practicing their faith irregardless of what these bigots will do, and irregardless of the threats that are being made against their community. As an ally of the Muslim community, it's just something that's incredibly humbling to witness firsthand.
Yurima, quickly, we have less than 30 seconds left. Can you tell us what can be changed, if anything, to combat these rise in hate crimes when it comes to Muslims, blacks, and other groups?
Well, first of all, there has to be a unity amongst these groups as well as white sympathizers. There has to be a unity amongst us, one. Secondly, we have to understand that there is a shadow government. We have to recognize that our government is who is manipulating, who is putting the propaganda machine out there, and they are the ones who are committing these heinous acts behind the scenes, making it look like they're not a part of it. But the biggest part is the unification amongst our groups and amongst those sympathizers.
We're going to have to leave it right there. Thank you, gentlemen. That was activist and hip-hop artist Yurima Karama and legal director for Council on American Islamic Relations, Albert Fox Khan. Thank you both.